Good morning, everyone. Leah Dixon here from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. I am live this morning with another Sale-a-bration sample. This week, I am actually featuring the Softly Sophisticated bundle. So it's a stamp set and an embossing folder. And you can earn this bundle for free with a $120 purchase from Stampin' Up. I've put my host code into the description of this video. And I can't wait to show you what I've created this week. So I'm going to pop on over to just my desktop and we're going to get started. So I'll show you a really close-up of this stamp set. So we've got some beautiful fonts here with our sentiments. Hello there, you're in my thoughts and I really appreciate you. And then we have some different leaves and some different florals. So when you first look at this stamp set, it doesn't look like a lot. Oh, hi, Diane. But what's really cool about this is these florals are actually one stamp, and this leaf bundle is one stamp, and they actually fit in perfectly together. Same with these florals and these stems. This is one stamp, this is one stamp, and they fit together perfectly. So it makes it a really, really great set for creating fast floral backgrounds or accents or whatever, and being able to get those two colors for your leaves and your flowers without having to grab your markers and ink things up separately and try not to get ink where you don't want it. So I'm super excited to share this one with you and show you how you can create just quick, beautiful things. And then the real eye catcher from this one is actually the embossing folder that comes with it. It is such a beautiful embossing folder. And I'm actually going to grab a couple cards that I created using it. So this one I created during my coffee and cards class this past weekend. And so we just did a white embossing with the floral on the front. So really kept it quite simple. Hi, Lila. And then this one I actually created for my hand-stamped sentiments color challenge. And so here, again, I embossed a piece of white, but then I used a blending brush to add some Night of Navy to it. And it really makes that whole pattern pop. So really, really beautiful embossing folder. Love it. All right. So let's start creating. The card we're going to create today is actually a case of a card by Dawn from Do Stamping. And I just kind of changed up the colors and added a little bit of my own flair to it. So, but the basic layout of the 3DSP strips and a big image with a sentiment, that was a case of a card that I saw created by Dawn. So that is what we're doing. Let's grab our stuff and get started. So what we have in here is I've actually pre-embossed my piece of Lost Lagoon. And I did like how this card turned out, but I actually wanted to kind of jazz it up a little bit by grabbing my Lost Lagoon ink and using my blending brush to add some color to this folder, just to make it pop a little bit more. So I'm just going to grab this. So I've just got a blending brush here, and I'm just doing some light circles, and you're going to see it doesn't do a lot, but it makes that pattern on our embossing folder just pop a little bit more. So I'll bring this up so you can see the difference of where I have and where I haven't gone over it with the blending brush. Oh, good morning, Janet. So we're just going to do a little bit more. There we go. So this creates a really subtle difference in our card. And it's also just going to help this layer stand out a tiny bit off of our background, because now it's going to be a little bit darker than our Lost Lagoon card base. Let's see, put that back. And then just in case I have any ink on my mat, I'm just going to give it a quick little wipe. You don't think there was much there, but just in case. All right, so this piece that we've created now, we are going to glue this directly onto our card base. And so just like that, and you can see it does pop it out a little bit because we've added that color in. All right. So I like to do most of my gluing with actual liquid glue, and I always use the wide end of my glue sticks. Okay, there we go. So I just take a little, this one's almost out. I just take a little ball of glue at the end there. Oh, you might have to toss this one. All right, that one's done. And so just a little glue at the end, and then I just drag that glue along. And that's going to prevent you from getting too much glue, having it come out the edges, having it leave a mark on your paper. So it's just a really flat layer of liquid glue on there. But then it also means that I can scooch it around a bit if I don't get it quite straight to start. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is I've got 3 pieces of designer series paper. Now these are really tiny strips of designer series paper. It's a great way to use up extra bits from your DSP. And this is from the Forever Love 12 by 12 DSP. And I'm just going to open this up and show it to you because it is gorgeous. And it was the inspiration for my color palette as well. So let's see, just move those off to the side. So we have one side of all of this paper is like a matte, very vanilla with pretty peacock, rococo, or oh my gosh, that's a jump back, moody mauve. And then the other side has the gold, like the gold highlights on it, and petal pink in here as well. And then we've got the gold on the other side. So really, really pretty paper. I used this one with the sloths a while back, and I just loved it. So yeah, it can be very elegant, or there's just some kind of more plain patterns, and you can create something really soft and subtle with this. I love this one. And there we go. So it's the Forever Love pack, and the colors are just really, really elegant. So I am going to start gluing these down by taking one of my gold highlighted ones and gluing it fairly close to the right-hand side and fairly centered on my card. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I am going to try and center it somewhat. And then I love this because I can use the embossing folder to make sure I get that straight. So I can kind of count up the dots and line that up. And there we go. Now my other 2 pieces, I am going to glue them down quite close, one above, one below, to that first one, but I'm going to stagger them so that they come in a bit. There we go. And it does feel like a shame to put glue on this gold side, but I really did want the contrast. There we go. Scooch that over there. All right, so we've got our DSP glued to our card front now. And a lot of it's going to get covered, unfortunately, but that's just, it's there for in the background as just something to catch the eye. So we're now going to get some actual stamping done. I've got 2 labels that we're stamping on. And I wanted to show them to you because these are, I think, my 2 favorite labels right now. And they are from the Thoughtful Expressions dies. So these are the dies that coordinate. I'll just show you this whole die set. It's just amazing. These are the dies that coordinate with that beautiful hummingbird set. So gorgeous sentiments, beautiful images. And then these are the dies that coordinate. So there are dies that cut out the stamped images, but then there are so many dies in here. So the leaves, a whole bunch of flowers, and then all of the labels that just are great on their own without the stamp set. So I've been really pairing these up a lot with like every stamp set I use. So that's what I'm doing today, is pairing those dies up with our Sale-a-bration set, the Softly Sophisticated. So the image the sentiment I'm going to use today on this card is "You're in my thoughts." And I'm going to stamp it in Pretty Peacock. I love how Pretty Peacock and Lost Lagoon look together. So I'm going to stamp that on that label. There we go. And then I am going to grab this label and the larger leaves from the Softly Sophisticated stamp set, and I'm going to stamp them as well in Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to center it as best I can on this label. There we go. So just like that. So that is everything with our Pretty Peacock. Now I'm actually grabbing two colors. I'm going to get Petal Pink and Flirty Flamingo. And I'm going to open them up both. I'm going to get the flowers that match with this leaf bundle. So they're kind of the larger 3 flowers. I am going to ink them up in Petal Pink. But then before I stamp them, I'm actually going to grab a sponge dauber. And with Flirty Flamingo, I am going to come in here and add some Flirty Flamingo to the edges of my flowers. So, just like that. Now, the trick to lining this one up is to get that little flower into the little notch that is on the left-hand side. And there we have it. I'll just bring this in and show you. Close up my inks first. Bring this in, and I'll show you how we just have like some variation on that flower then, because Petal Pink can be a fairly orangish yellow color, and I wanted to really bring the pinkness into it, so we used the Flirty Flamingo, and I just think it created a beautiful look on those flowers. All right, now before we finish up, I also have these little flowers. These were cut out with Thoughtful Expressions die as well. I have these little flowers, and I'm actually going to hold them. These are cut out of Petal Pink. I'm going to hold them with my tweezers from my embossing kit, and then just kind of twist it around. And I'm just using, I haven't even added any extra ink. I'm just using the leftover ink from what I just did to add just the tiniest little bit of Flirty Flamingo to the edges of these little cut out flowers. Oops. So you can do more or less depending on how you want them to look. I just want a real little tinge of pink on the edges. Okay. So these are kind of some extras. You don't need to do these to make the card beautiful. You could skip all of the sponge daubing stuff if you wanted, and it would still work out. It's just some extra little color that I wanted to add. All right. So with that done, we can start putting our pieces together. I've also got 2 soft seafoam leaves that I cut out using the Thoughtful Expressions dies. So where I began putting this card together was grabbing some dimensionals and putting the flowers down first. That's going to kind of help line up everything else that's going on to this card front. There we go. So I put this so that I could see all of, here, I'm going to move these out of the way. So I put this so that I could see all of the DSP on the right-hand side. And so that this little bump was kind of like centered on the darker DSP. And doing that kind of creates like it almost looks like it's upright. If you could imagine there being like straight sides, we're kind of squaring it off. So that's how I attached that. Now, before I attached my sentiment, I did the ribbon. So the ribbon I'm using is actually the gold Simply Elegant trim. So it's actually a 2-pack. You get gold and silver in the pack. And I'm just using a piece of the gold. And what I did was I took it and made 2 bunny ears. Oh, it's not cooperating this morning. Wrapped them around and made like this really big loopy bow. All right. Oh, hi, Anne. Wonderful. You can always go back and watch the replay as well if you need to see the beginning of the video. Thank you for joining, though. All right, so I'm just going to kind of fiddle with this until I get this the size that I want. Once I have this the size that I want, I'm going to use my snips and trim these off. There we go. So that's the Simply Elegant trim. And I'm going to use a mini glue dot to attach that to my card front. So I'm actually going to, oh, that looks good. I'm going to take that whole bow and put the knot right onto a mini glue dot and then kind of pick that up all as one. And right in here, I'm going to pop in and put that down. So now that that's attached, I can kind of fiddle with these. It's a bit of a stiffer trim, so you kind of can push it around where you want it to go. Now that that's attached, you can also see that I can trim up the one edge of it. So here we go. Come in and trim that. All right. So that's attached to our card. Now we can put our sentiment on here. And we have a better idea of where to kind of place that. And so that's just like that. Now I'm only going to use 1 dimensional on here. And then just a little dab of glue. All right, there we go. You could even use a mini glue dot there instead of glue if you wanted. All right, so I want this down so that it's not covering up my leaves too much, not covering up my DSP too much. And it is straight, but it's covering up the knot on our bow that we tied. So we don't see that knot, we don't see the glue. Okay, next thing we're going to do is get our mini glue dots back. And this time I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. And I am going to pick up a mini glue dot off of my roll and put one at the very top leaf of my greenery and at the very bottom leaf of my greenery. And then I want to make sure that I'm not covering up my words. I'm going to pop that right onto my card front. Now I'm going to take my other leaf and I'm just going to pop it in on one of the lower leaves. I don't mind if all the other leaves kind of float around. And then I'm going to pop in there and put that down. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with our little flowers. So I'm going to flip them over and I'm going to put a mini glue dot on the back of each of my flowers. And so if I'm careful, I'll be able to position it right so I don't have to squish it in. But if I put it down a little bit off, the nice thing about these glue dots is you can kind of just squish them over so that they're not showing through. Oops. There we go. And one more. There we go. All right, so now these I am going to place onto my card front, just like that. And then we're going to finish the card by adding some petal pink gems. So I have them here. They're actually a pack that is petal pink and pretty peacock, and they have gold flecks in them. They're just gorgeous. Okay, come on. There we go. So here you go. You can see the gold flecks inside them. They're beautiful. So I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to help lift these up so I can also get them placed exactly where I want them. So I just get the tip of my Take Your Pick tool underneath, and then I can use it to kind of push these around until I position them where I want them. There we go. Just like that, and one more. So these can be a bit tricky. I find they can be a bit tricky to pick up. There we go. All right, and then that is, oh, it's not quite finished. Sorry, I forgot about our inside piece. So I have a piece of very vanilla to go on the inside of our card. Now, you could choose to leave this plain, or what I was going to do is I actually had, where did it go now? I had a piece of DSP that I had cut in the wrong direction. Where did it go? Of course, now I won't be able to find it. No, maybe I used it on something else and I didn't wait. So you could put a strip of DSP in here. You could stamp another floral image in here, or you could even just emboss the edge of this. So I think I might actually just grab this piece. I'm just going to trim that down to 4 inches. There we go. And pop that in. You could also use a gold one. That's what I had originally intended, was to use a gold one, but I don't see my gold one with the right orientation of images. So we'll do just the very vanilla. So I'm going to glue that in on the edge. And then we're going to glue this whole piece into the inside of our card. There we go. All right. And so I want that trim to be on the outside. So there we go, out towards the edge. Beautiful. So we've got that done. And then for my envelope, what I'm actually going to do is emboss the flap of my envelope. It's a really nice way to kind of jazz up your envelope without, extra materials or anything. So what you do is you actually just take your embossing folder, you open up your envelope, and then you just place it inside so that the embossing folder ends at the fold. Okay, so you don't want to go over, because then you'll be embossing the front of your envelope as well. And then we just run it through our embossing folder in this direction. So I'm just going to quickly pop over and do that. I'm not going to bring my big machine over. You just use that with the base plate and then plate 4, the specialty plate on top. So with plate 4 only on our base, we run that through. And now you can see you just have this really beautiful envelope flap now. And then you can just lick that to seal it. We don't need to mess around with inks or cutting anything. So yeah, that's kind of how you can create a really fancy envelope really quickly and have it all matchy-matchy with your card. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We have one more month of Sale-a-bration to go. So if there are items in that Sale-a-bration brochure that you guys are really wanting, you've got 29 days left to grab them. The glass mat that I've been creating on as well is available as part of our starter kit promotion until February 29th. So if you're loving what you're seeing with the glass mat, how easy it is to keep clean, how great the stamping is and everything, give me a shout and I can let you know more about our starter kit deal. You can get the starter kit and run a business, but you can also just get the starter kit and enjoy a great discount and a lot of like team stamping and creative sharing on our group. So yeah, 2 great options there. Oh, thank you guys. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll be back next Wednesday with another Sale-a-bration sample. Take care.